Very good morning to one and all. Once again, welcome back to economic class. In this class, we are going to see the second point of the chapter number 2nd. Dear cadet, as you are knowing about that, we are in the journey of the chapter number 2nd, sectors of the Indian economy. Today, on the topic number 2nd, comparing the three sectors, we are going to have the discussion and the following points we are going to see. First, having the quick recapitulation of what we studied in this chapter in the presentation number 1 and the topic number 1. In the topic number 1, we had seen the introduction of the chapter, what we are going to study. Second, the three sectors of the Indian economy. So, first we had seen what are sectors. After that, we had seen primary sector, secondary sector, and last tertiary sector. In that, the primary sector as an agriculture sector or a producing sector. Second, the secondary sector, which is also called as industrial sector, as the different industries are associated with each other. The next one is the tertiary sector, or which is also called as the service sector, because it provides the services to the growth and development of primary as well as the secondary sector. Next, quickly going to see the comparing the three sectors. So here we are going to talk and discuss about the GDP, and we are going to have the comparing of the three sectors ahead. First, the various production activities in the primary, secondary, tertiary sectors produce a very large number of goods and services. So also the three sectors have a large number of the people working in them to produce the various types of the goods and services. The first paragraph is talking about the various production activities in the three sectors, that are the primary, secondary, and tertiary. And also in these three sectors, the large number of the people working to produce the number of goods and services. The next step, therefore, it is see how much goods and services are produced and how many people work in each sector. So number of the peoples working in the different sectors, number of the goods and services produces in the different sectors. So this is the second step. That means we are going to see how much of the goods as well as the services are produced and how many number of the people are working in each sectors. In an economy, there could be one or more sectors which are dominant in terms of the total production, or we can speak about the employment, while other sectors are relatively small in size. So dear cadet, here we are going to have the comparison between the three sectors, primary, secondary, and tertiary. As we have seen about in all the three sectors, we are having the production of the goods and services, and the huge number of the people are working in these three sectors. After that, the different goods and services, how much they are produced, and how the different peoples are working in which quantity we are seeing. There can be a comparison between the one sector is going to be large and other sector is going to be small in comparison of production, or we can speak about the employment. So how do we count the various goods and services and know the total production in each sector? So let's check out. I request all the cadets, please observe this slide very properly. With so many thousands of goods and services produced, you might think this is impossible task. Not only would the task be enormous, you might also wonder how we can add up a car, computer, nails, and furniture. It won't make sense. So dear cadet, here we are going to see about that the milk cannot be added with a pair of shoes because their quantity, quality, and units are different. So here if we are thinking about that, so if we will think like that, so it's going to be the impossible task. So here you are right in thinking so. To get around this problem, economics suggests the value of the goods and the services should be used rather than adding up the actual number. For example, 10,000 kg of wheat is sold at rupees 8 per kg. So the value of the total wheat is going to be 80,000. The value of 5,000 coconut at 10 rupees per coconut is going to be 50,000. Similarly, the value of the goods and services in these three sectors are calculated and added up. So I hope so it's going to be clear to all of you how the value of the total number of the goods and services is going to be evaluated or calculated. First, the value of all the goods and services produced in the different sectors are going to be taken out. After taken out, they are going to be added among each other, because wheat cannot be added with the coconut. So we are taking the value of it. Just here we are seeing about the 80,000, here we are seeing the 50,000. Next, remember there is a one precaution. One has to take not every good or service that is produced and sold need to be counted. It makes sense only to include the final goods and services. And the reason why we are going to add only the value of the final good and services, because let's check out. Take for instance a farmer who sells wheat to a flour mill for 8 rupees per kg, and the mill grind the wheat and sell the flour at the biscuit company. So that is going to be 10 rupees per kg. First, dear cadet, please understand this paragraph very properly. We are taking the example of wheat here, right? Farmer who sell wheat to the flour mill, right, at 8 rupees. So the cost of the wheat is 8 rupees, and the mill grinds the wheat and sell the flour to the biscuit company at 10. The biscuit company use the flour and the things such as the sugar, oil to make the 4 packets of biscuit. It sell the biscuit in the market to the consumer for rupees 60. Rupees, that means 4 packets. So we are going to divide the 60 into 4 parts, so 15 rupees per packet. So the biscuits are the final good. That is the goods that reach the consumers. That is going to be the final. I hope so it is clear to you all. Why are only the final goods and services counted? In contrast to the final goods and services, let's have an example of another. Goods such as wheat and the wheat flour in these examples are the intermediate goods. So if we are going to have the addition of this intermediate goods, so we are going to have a double counting. So to escape from that, intermediate goods are used up in producing final goods and services. The final value goods already include the value of the intermediate goods that are used in making the final good. Hence the value of rupees 60 for the biscuit, that's a final good, already include the value of the flour, rupees 10. I hope so the examples are clear to you. Once again, I repeat for you. Intermediate goods are used up in producing final goods and services. So just we are seeing here the intermediate goods. Flour is here, right? So the packet of 60 rupees of biscuit already includes the value of the flour, that's a rupees 10. Next, similarly, the value of all the intermediate goods would have been included. To count the value of the flour and the wheat separately is there not correct, because then we would be counting the value of the same thing a number of times. First as a wheat, then as a flour, and finally then as a biscuit. Dear cadet, please have attention here. Wheat, its cost, then wheat is converted into flour, its cost, and finally the biscuit. If we are going to add like that, so they are going to be the counting of the same things number of time, right? Because then we would be counting the value of the same thing a number of time. So to avoid this, we are going to take only the final value of all the goods and services produced in all the sectors. So this slide is quite interesting. Already I had talked and discussed more about GDP. That's a gross domestic product. So dear cadet, please read it. The slides talk about the value of final goods and services produced in each sector, means primary, secondary, tertiary, during a particular year, provides the total production of the sector for the year and the sum of production in the three sectors gives what is called gross domestic product, right? So here we are talking about all the final goods as well as the services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for the year, and the sum of the production in the three sectors gives GDP of a country. It is the value of all the goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. I repeat, it is the value of all the final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. So GDP shows how big the economy is. Dear cadet, this topic is very important all the time, every time in board examination, in the PTs, in monthly test. Surely you are going to have the question, what do you mean by the term GDP? Expand it or write the full form, or what do you mean by gross domestic product, or define the term GDP. At the time you have to state about the definition of GDP, that it is the value of all the final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year, right, from all the three sectors. Next, in India, the task of measuring GDP is undertaken by the central government ministry. This ministry, with the help of the various government department of all the Indian state and the union territory, collect the information related to the total volume of goods and services and their price, and then estimate the GDP. So how GDP is going to be calculated? Here the paragraph is speaking. Next, moving further, historical change in sectors. I request all the cadet, please observe it. First, generally it has been noted from the histories of many now developed countries that at initial stages of development, primary sector was the most important sector of the economic activity. First paragraph is speaking that now developed histories of many. So if we are going to see about the histories of many which are developed country now, at that initial stage, that primary sector was the most important sector of the economy. As the method of farming changed, agriculture sector began to prosper. It produced much more food than before. Many people could now take up other activities. There were increased number of the craft person and traders. Buying and selling activities increased many times. Besides, there were also transporter, administrators, army, etc. However, at this stage, most of the goods produced were natural products from the primary sector, and the most people were also employed in this sector only. Dear cadet, we are going to see about the historical change in sectors. So here we are seeing about the agriculture sector's growth and development and proceeding and contribution in the economy. Over a long time, more than 100 years, and especially because new methods of manufacturing were introduced, factories came up and started expanding and expanding. Those people who had earlierly worked on the farm now began to work in the factory in a large number. They were forced to do so, you read in the history's chapters. As you are knowing about in 90s industrialization, people begin to use many more goods than we produce in factory at cheap rate. Secondary sectors gradually become the most important in the total production as well as in the employment. Hence, over time, a shift had taken. This means that the importance of the sector has changed. I repeat, this means that the importance of the sectors had changed from primary to secondary. In the past 100 years, there has been a further shift from the secondary to the tertiary sector. In developed country, the service sector has become the most important in terms of the total production. Most of the working people are also employed in the service sector. This is the general pattern observed in developed country. What is the total production and employment in the three sectors in India? Over the years have there been change similarly to the pattern observed for the developed country. We are going to see in the next session. So dear cadet, here we have seen about how the shift from the primary to the secondary and how first the primary was contributing huge to the economy, after that the manufacturing sector, then next tertiary sector. Last, I want to tell about all the cadets this topic, the comparing of these three sectors. In upcoming presentation, we are going to see with the help of the graph and the different questions, we are going to understand about how to evaluate the graph, how to give answers of the different graph questions. So from this presentation, lastly, I want to give you today's homework. Please quickly note down. First, comparing the three sectors. For this, the question number 1 for you, define the term GDP, or you can write the question, what do you mean by the term gross domestic product or GDP in bracket, right? Next, here define the term intermediate goods. So what is the meaning of intermediate goods? You have to write. I repeat, define the term intermediate goods. If it is going to be asked about the example, you have to place the same example as given in the textbook, as I stated to you earlier. Next, historical change in sectors. From this topic, you have to make notes. Historical change in sectors. How earlierly primary was taking a lead, after that the secondary, and now the tertiary. In the third presentation, we are going to see about the comparison between three sectors in a detailed way. Till then, all the cadets, please prepare your all the notes in a systematic manner. Soon, with your all the requests, we are going to have the detailed class, so all the doubts and difficulties are going to be shouted out in a systematic manner. Lastly, I want to thank to each and everyone for watching this video. Till then, be safe and secure at your home. Lastly, if you are skipping any video, please observe it because it's going to be enhance your knowledge. Thanking to one and all. Jai Hind.